Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's class we shall learn about virtual functions. I hope everyone is aware of the term polymorphism in C++. Polymorphism is a Greek word which means many forms. The term poly means many and the term morph means forms. So, which means many forms. In C++, if a variable or a function or an object has the ability to acquire more than one form, then that whole concept or that whole process we call it as polymorphism. So under polymorphism, we do have function overloading and function overriding. Function overloading is the concept where two functions or more than two functions have the same function name, but the number of arguments or the type of arguments are different. So that concept we call it as function overloading, and this can also be termed as early binding or static binding. The function overloading can also be termed as static binding or early binding, because the compiler comes to know which call statement to be linked to which function body during the compile time based on the number of arguments or the type of arguments. So it is considered, this concept is called as early binding because the binding happens during the compile time. And it is also called as compile time polymorphism. So coming to the second one, function overloading. Function overriding. Function overriding is also called as runtime polymorphism. Runtime polymorphism, and it is also addressed to as late binding or dynamic binding, because in function overriding what happens is it is quite different from function overloading, because in function overriding what we do is suppose we define a function in a base class, and if the same function is redefined in the derived class, and with the help of the base class pointer, what we do is we try to call the derived class function, and we try to override the base class member function. So and to achieve this we mainly use the keyword virtual. So this is the scenario where we come across the virtual functions in C++. It occurs in function overriding, and it can only be achieved with the help of a base class pointer. And let's see how to write a C++ program so that we can better understand what exactly is a virtual function in C++. So first let me start with the header files. Hash include iostream using namespace standard. So now I will try to define a base class. Here class is the keyword and give a space. The name of the base class, let me keep it as base, and open the curly brace. Now under public, I will define two member functions. Suppose say void show and which is printing a statement onto the console screen. This is a base class show function. Alright, new line character and then close the statement. So similarly I do define void display and let me print a statement onto the console screen saying that it is a base class display function. New line character and then close the function, close the class definition. So this is a base class definition. Now I want to define the derived class. Okay, I'll continue it on the next page. Class derived, I will keep it as derive and open the curly brace. So under public, so as I told you, I will redefine the member functions of the base class in the derived class. So let's see what happens. Void show and I will print a statement onto the console screen saying that it is a derived class function. Derived class show function, new line character and close the function. Similarly, I will take another member function, cout, I will print a statement onto the console screen again saying that it is a derived class function. New line character, close the statement, close the function and close the definition. So now I have defined a base class and a derived class. So the member functions of the base class I have redefined in the derived class. So now I am defining the main function, int main. So within the main I will create the object for both the classes, for the derived class as well as base class. So I will base class, the object is B, and derived class, the object is D. So now to override the base class member function, so what I have to do as a programmer is I have to make use of the keyword virtual. Suppose say in the base class there are two member functions, show and display, and the same functions I have redefined in the derived class, show and display. So how will the compiler come to know which member function to override? So I will use the keyword virtual in the base class. So let's see what happens. So I will use it, I will prefix it before the void here as virtual. Okay, so now whenever we want to override, we have to use the base class pointer. So for a base class, I will declare a pointer. So now with the help of this pointer, let's say it is containing the address of base class. Alright, now cout, I will just put a statement mentioning base class functions will be called. So with the help of this pointer object, use the arrow operator and I will call the member functions of the base class. So if I say show, then what will be my output? I will get the output as base class show function. And then with the help of the pointer object, once again, if I call the display function, then which function will be called? Will the base class or the derived class? The base class function will be called, because the pointer object is containing the address of the base class object, right? The pointer object is containing the address of the base class object. So the base class function will be called. Suppose say the pointer object, if it is assigned with the address of the derived class object, then if I use the arrow operator and if I call the member functions, then which functions will be called? Let's see. I will print a statement mentioning derived functions. I want the derived class functions to be called. So derived function class functions are called. So with the pointer object of base class, now the pointer object is containing the address of the derived class object. So if I use the base class pointer object and if I use arrow operator and if I call the function show, then which function will the base class member function gets called or the derived class member function gets called? So how can you guess? Can you see the code now? We have void show in the base class and as well as void show in the derived class, and the pointer object is containing the address of the derived class object. So now I am making the function call statement. I am calling the function show. So which function will be called? Will the base class function gets called or the derived class show function gets called? And you can notice here I am not using the keyword virtual for the show member function. So when the keyword virtual is not used, what happens? The derived class member function, though it is redefined, it fails to override the base class member function, and henceforth what happens? Though the pointer object is carrying the address of the derived class object, and now I am making a function call for the show member function, here the base class member function itself gets called because we are not using the keyword virtual, so the overriding fails. Next, if I use the pointer object and arrow operator and if I say display, then now what happens? The pointer is containing the address of the derived class object, and I am calling the display function. So you can see the code. In the base class, I have the display function. I have defined a display function, and as well in the derived class I have defined the display function, and you can see the keyword in the base class. I am using the keyword virtual prefixed to the display member function. So what happens now? The derived class member function, that is the display function, overrides the base class display member function. So now this statement will call the derived class member function. So hope you guys understand hope you guys have understood how to override the functions and how to use the keyword virtual, because without using a base class pointer object we cannot override and we cannot implement the virtual functions concept in C++. So depending on depending on the pointer of the base class to which object it is pointing to, the appropriate member function gets called. Hope you guys have understood, and the keyword virtual plays a prominent role in overriding. And if you fail to mention this keyword virtual, though you are using a base class pointer and you fail to override the member functions. So this is up for this session, and you can try to execute this program on any of the platforms, be it Visual Studio, or try to type it on the notepad and execute it through using the MinGW compiler. And please let me know what is the output. If any errors, please let me know through the comment section. And finally, you can close the definition of the main function by returning 0, return space 0, and then close the main function. Thank you.